Hi everybody. So today's project, we are going to make this baby shower teddy bear. And you can tuck whatever you want. He has pockets all the way around. You just need a stuffed animal, a 2-liter bottle, some material from the dollar store, some beads to weight the bottle, and I'll show you how to make it. The only thing, I added this little trim at the last minute. You could leave it off. You could put some little buttons on it. You can make it your own. So without further ado, let's get started. It's almost 10 o'clock and I still haven't gotten today's video up, so I'm gonna get started. Here we go. Okay, first off, you're gonna take your stuffed animal, like I've already done, cut off its head, feet, hands, tail, whatever parts you want to use. Take the label off your your soda bottle. I'm going to put a link for some cheaper pellets. Unless you have a stuffed animal that already has pellets, you can use those. And these are my cloth remnants that I got from the Dollar Tree. My fabric fusion, so we won't have to sew everything. And a funnel to put in the beads. This is a car drying towel that I got at the Dollar Tree over in the tool aisle. So we're just going to take our funnel and load up our pellets. And you don't have to fill the bottle all the way full. It would be way too heavy. Just enough to make it stable. And these were all the pellets I had. I had ordered some on Amazon. They didn't come in time, so you see it makes it sturdy enough. And then once you put the feet and head and everything on, it's pretty stout. Now I use this to kind of bulk it up, and I wanted my stuffed animal to be a little chubbier, but I had also thought about getting some girls' tights, like some white tights, and cutting the legs off and putting those on, but I never got around to it, and I already had this, so that's what I'm using. You're just going to pull it up like this. We're going to put a rubber band on the top, and you want to kind of tuck those little awkward ends in. Doesn't have to be perfect. Your dress is going to cover it, but you just don't want any obvious lumps. So I'm just trying to tuck it around. And if you're really serious about it, you could use your fabric glue to glue these, but it's really not necessary. The dress will cover everything. So there we go. That looks pretty good. One more little piece. Now, where's that rubber band? This will just hold it together so you can get the head on and get it glued in place. And that's what it looks like. Now you want to tuck the stuffing down in good into your stuffed animal head so that it will fit onto the bottle. You don't want it hanging off and being all wobbly. You want it to go down nice and tight. Like so. And I had initially planned on just gluing it down with the fabric glue, but then I realized it was going to really need a gathering stitch. So A gathering stitch is just a long, it's just an in and out stitch, but it's long stitches so that it'll gather up together. And I'm also going to fix this little gap I had while I'm stitching. I'm not really big on sewing, and I don't have a sewing machine because I don't have room for all of that in my camper. So I try to use fabric glue for most stuff, but there's a good bit of sewing on this one. If you have a sewing machine, this will go really quick. But for me doing it all by hand, this project took me a long time. I edited a lot out. So I'm just going to gather it all the way around, just in and out, big stitches. And then we're going to pull it tight. Well, not so tight that it won't fit over our cloth and the lid of our bottle, but tight enough to give it a little more stability. And you see I have another gap right there. I'm going to fix that with the stitch too while I'm here. And once you gather it up, put another little lock stitch. Just whip around and put another stitch in so it won't come undone so easily. We're also going to glue this on too, but you still don't want it to come ungathered while it's drying. And I love the fabric glue. It saves a lot of time on a lot of things. But I will tell you one thing, I should have gotten thicker material. That would have saved me some sewing, because if you have thicker material, the glue won't bleed through. So there were some places that I had to sew it because the glue would have bled through. And you're going to need a couple of big rubber bands. We're going to get it on there as firmly as we can, then load it up with fabric glue and put 2 big rubber bands to hold the head on, to keep it down tight on the cloth underneath until it can dry. And I'm using a generous amount of the glue because I don't want the head to pop off. That'd be a bummer at a baby shower. Exploding teddy bear. And by the way, you can use whatever stuffed animal, I'm sure you know that, but I thought it would be cute with an elephant with some big floppy ears, maybe a little blue outfit. Something with a long tail would be cute. I would try to do something, whatever their theme is of their baby room. Of course, if they have trains or cars or something, you can't, well, you might be able to make that. But for it to be an animal, made with the stuffed animal, you could still just match the colors. And my bottle happens to have the little bumps at the bottom, so that made it easy to put my rubber bands on. Now we're just going to take the cloth and kind of get an idea how tall we can make our pocket. And remembering that we're going to have to turn the top edge under twice to make a casing, because we're going to tie a string around the neck to hold it together. So when you get it about where you want it, you can kind of get a pinch on it. That's how I do it. pinch a hold of it so you can mark it with your fingers before you take it apart. So this is my spot. And we're going to iron that down so we save our spot. Another thing is I'm not going to steam iron it because I'm doing it on my island, which is painted. So I had to cut out a lot of the video of the ironing because I was ironing and ironing and ironing, trying to get the lines out of the cloth. I never did get them all out, but since this is just a practice one, I didn't get too worried about it. But you don't want to be ironing for 3 days, so steaming it would be easier. And depending on what kind of material you have, if you have some thicker, more forgiving material, it's not that big a deal. I'm just going to test it and make sure. Now this material I used was 18 by 21 inches, and I think probably 24 inches would have been better, so it wouldn't be so snug on the bear. I thought it was going to gather up more than it did, and it gathered nicely around the neck, but around the body not so much, and it would have made the pockets bigger for like baby wipes and things like that. The whole point is so it's like a display piece, kind of like a diaper cake, but if you make it where it's useful, then they could maybe use it on their changing table, put it on their dresser with some little handy things they need to be able to get to. So I'm just marking the second row of pockets, and I'm turning under both sides. The top side's going to get turned under twice because you don't want it to tear up when they're taking things in and out of the pocket. But the bottom pocket, it's just going to be glued onto the back. So I just turned it under once. And while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and turn this back pocket under one more time. Same reason, you don't want it to tear up easily whenever they're pulling things in and out of the pockets. So this pocket is going to get a whip stitch. It's going to get sewn all the way across because of the fact that the glue will bleed through. It's going to bleed through on the other pocket too, but we have a fix for that. The lace is going to go over top, so it won't matter. Now I'm putting the glue for the pockets right on the lines that they already had, the fold lines. So that's going to give 4 pockets on the big one. This is the behind pocket, and then the dark pockets will be in front. So there'll actually be 8 pockets. And then I'm going to stagger the pockets on the dark pink. You see how it's bleeding through? That's why I put the cardboard down too, for the glue and the iron. Now this back one, it won't matter because the front pockets are covering it. But after we let it dry for a minute or two, we're going to go stick our hands inside the big pockets, the big pink, light pink pockets, and press that glue out so it won't seal the bottom of the big pockets. The big pockets are the light pink, the dark pockets are the smaller pockets are the dark pink. And I'm gluing down the top right here, but it's going to get folded on under one more time for a casing for the thread. I'm trying to see how badly it's bleeding through. If I'd planned ahead better, I would have gotten some thicker cloth. The next one I make, I'll use some thicker cloth. Maybe some flannel. So I'm just going to put a couple stitches at the top of each of these glue lines on the big pockets, just to reinforce it. This glue actually works really good, and there's several different brands. You can get it in white, you can get it in clear. I have the clear, so it's more versatile. But I still like to reinforce that, just so if they're putting big things in and out of the pocket and it's leaning, it won't end up coming loose. So I'm just doing the same thing on all three lines. Just a couple quick stitches. This really is not a hard project, it's just it's time consuming project. The whole video was actually about 2 hours. Then of course, you know, I was stopping to let Jeffrey out and things like that. So I'm just unloosening that glue at the bottom of those pockets because a couple places it got a little stuck. Now here I'm going to do a whip stitch. You just take a little piece of the front of the cloth and then a thicker piece on the back. And then you come back and slide the needle along so you can rest up right next to the last stitch and go through again, and that locks it in place. So we're going to do that all the way down the light pink pocket. And one more stitch and then we'll move on. Okay, I have this wide lace, but you could use some gathered lace. Really all you need to cover is the top of the pink because of the glue. But since I have to hand stitch this lace on there, I'm going to go ahead and stitch down to make my... And I'm sure there probably was a better way to do this than the way I'm doing it. Because it's kind of awkward trying to get inside of here. I'm trying to straddle the other pocket, so I want the dark pink pockets to, how do you say it, to go across the middle of the other pocket. So right here it's kind of tricky because you can't sew all the way through to the back layer or you'll mess up the back pocket. And I'm getting a little off screen, but you'll see in a minute. You got to keep one hand inside to make sure you don't go into that back layer. But I'm just doing just a regular straight stitch, just up and down, up and down. And I'm not sewing all the way to the bottom because I don't want the stitch to show. So I'm just sewing the length of the waist of the lace, which is another reason I got the thick lace. Thick as in width, because I would stitch a good amount down. That way they still can put something in the pocket. It's just not stitched all the way to the bottom. So if they put a little BB in there, it's going to roll from pocket to pocket. Just a second, I'll get it flipped around and you can see. Kind of an awkward stitching spot, but we only have to do a couple lines. And I'm just doing a little back stitch to lock it and tie it off. Guys, you have no clue what I've been through trying to get this video up. It's Wednesday at 6:20 while I'm doing this, and my videos, I try to get them up every Tuesday, but we all know how that goes. But the editing software kept messing up, and then now we have a storm coming in, so I'm hoping to get finished before all the lightning. Been hearing a lot of thunder. See, it's a tight little area to get in there and get your knot. Well, we just have one more to do. Because the sides, when the sides get sewn, they're going to do the opposite side of that pocket. And then we're going to just do it the exact same thing on the opposite side, on the other half of the lace. Now the lace is all stitched down, the pockets are done. So now we're going to put the right sides together, and we're just going to do a running stitch. The only key thing here is to make sure that all of your layers are all the way to the edge. You don't want to get all finished and figure out that the lace didn't get stitched or the dark pink didn't get stitched. And then right here at the beginning it's a little tough because of the glue. So the first couple stitches are kind of hard to get the needle in. But this is just a straight running stitch. It's just up and down, up and down. Once you get past these first couple tough stitches, you can take 3 or 4 stitches at once. I'm just checking again to make sure all my layers are all the way to the edge. And if you have a sewing machine, you'd already be done. I used to love to sew, but like I said, I live full-time in an RV, and I'm also an eBay seller, so I have tons of eBay stuff in here. I don't have room for sewing. Okay, now you can take a bunch of stitches since you're past the glue. Then flip it inside out or right side out. And the head is dry. It's not all the way dry. It's still, you know, since I put the glue really thick, and you should too, it'll still need a little time to harden up. So if you're making this the night before the baby shower, it ought to be fine by morning. And don't lie, you know you all do it. All of us do. I'm just going to test it out and see how it looks, and then I'm going to put the little arms on. And these arms on the Care Bear, they're just short little stubby arms. But if you have like a monkey with some big long arms, that would be cute. I just safety pinned them kind of so I have an idea where they're going to go. And they're probably not going to be lined up evenly, but you can straighten that out once you turn it, once you lay it down and look at it. And before, I didn't show you, before I put the hands on, I just tucked the fleece down inside so that the cotton's not coming out. And then when we sew it right here, we can just go around the edges, and you're grabbing onto the fleece, not the cotton. And then I just stitch it around in a circle. And you're going to do the same thing to the other side. I thought about trying the fabric glue, but I wasn't sure what of a mess it would make with this material being so thin. So I just gave in and stitched it. But now I am going to use the glue on the feet. A whole big glob of glue and a rubber band to hold them on. And I set him on some wax paper just in case the glue runs a little bit. There we go. Now while he's drying, we can finish up the dress. And I'm sure y'all probably already know this, but you could put like some buttons down the front. You could put some little, I don't know, some iron-on, what do you call those things? Like the little embroidered iron-on things. You could put something like that. Heck, you could have done that where I put the lace across the pocket. Now here I'm just using a big plastic needle, and I'm poking it in between a couple of those straight stitches that we made when we sewed down the side. Just find you an empty spot where it'll go through, and then I'm going to take my scissors and cut a little slit in the front. And like I said, you don't have to tie the bow in the front, or you could put lace through here if you wanted a little lace bow in the front. Or like, say you're doing a little boy outfit, a little shirt or something, you could cut your little slit in the back and have it come in the back, and then just tie it off and knot it. They're actually old stuffed animals that are made that way. I've had some that I've taken apart to make other things out of them, and that's how they were. The heads are just tied on. And the little ones with the little bisques hands and stuff. So you could put the little daisies on. I thought about it, and then I changed my mind. I had some hot pink daisies I thought about, but I was trying to get the video done. And I like the white that's on the bottle. It kind of looks like a little diaper poking out. Just a thought. And I didn't have any baby stuff to stick in the pockets, so I'm just sticking some of my stuff from around the house for the picture. And right now I'm just sticking stuff off my craft table. And she's all done, so I'll see you next Tuesday.